Okay, today we're going to start working with a very important topic for this class, and that's adding and subtracting fractions. And the very first thing we want to write down, we'll just write in the form of a note. Note. To add or subtract fractions. Okay, to add or subtract fractions, you must have least common denominators. You must have common denominators. Or the same denominators, we'll say. Now, we're going to always want to use the least common denominators. All right? And the good news is sometimes fractions already have common denominators. For example, if I wanted, we'll just do a very simple one here. If I had 1/3 plus 1/3, a very simple fraction problem. Well, my denominators are the 3's. Okay? So the two 3's are the same, right? So if the denominators are already the same, then I can go ahead and add what we call the numerators, the top numbers. So 1 plus 1 is 2. Now what do I put, though, for the bottom? It's still a 3. It's just like eating 2 pieces of pie, okay? Each of those pieces of pie was a third of the pie. If you eat 2 of the pieces of the pie, then you've eaten 2/3 of the pie. So, if I had 1/8 plus 3/8, what would it be? It would be 4/8. Very easy. Now the next thing we need to talk about, though, is simplifying fractions. That fraction, 4/8, is not simplified. So to simplify it, we have to divide the top and bottom by the biggest number that will go into both of them. What is the biggest number that will go into both 4 and 8? Isn't it 4? So if I divide the top and bottom by 4, then I get 1/2. And that would be my final answer. Okay? Now, another situation we need to talk about is, let's say that I was adding two fractions, like 3/7 plus 5/7. Now when I add those two fractions, they already have a common denominator. 3 plus 5 is what? 8. 8/7. When the top number is bigger than the bottom, that has a special name. It's called an improper fraction. That's called an improper fraction because the top number is bigger than the bottom. And I want to show you how to fix that. Okay? To fix the improper fraction, you divide the bottom number into the top. So I divide 7 into 8. Here's another reason why we learned how to divide. Now this is very simple. How many times does 7 go into 8? One time. A lot of the times it's just going to be a 1. 1 times 7 is 7, and I subtract and I get what? 1. Now, what I'm going to do with all of that is I'm going to write what's called a mixed number. This means if I have 8/7 of a pie, don't I have more than a whole pie? So I have 1 whole, so this will be 1. And I have 1 extra piece of pie, so that goes over my denominator, which was 7. 1 and 1/7. That's called a mixed number. Okay, so if you get a improper fraction, then you need to divide and write it as a mixed number. Let's try one more of those. You try this problem now without my help. (11/12) plus 5/12. I'll pause the video, you try it. Okay, we add the numerators and we get 16/12. I do my division. 12 goes into 16 once with 4 left over. So my answer is 1 and 4/12. Now, is 4/12 a simplified fraction? It is not simplified. It's not, or what we would call reduced. So we need to reduce it. What is the biggest number that will divide evenly into 4 and 12? Isn't it 4? So I divide both of these by 4. And I get 1 and 1/3. Because 4 divided by 4 is 1. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 1 and 1/3 would be the best final answer. Okay? One of the reasons I want you to know how to divide to fix an improper fraction is, what if you added two fractions and you got 31/12? If I got 31/12, that's an improper fraction, and I wanted to change that so that it wasn't an improper fraction, you need to know that you divide. Let's fix that. 12 into 31 goes 2 times. 2 times 12 is 24. I subtract, and I get 7. So that would be, remember, this is always your whole up here. This is always your whole. So it would be 2 and 7/12. Okay? Now, what if I wanted to add or subtract and I don't have a common denominator? Let's say that I had 1/2 minus 4/9. Well, I told you that we have to have a common denominator. We don't have one. So guess what? You know what we did the last 2 or 3 days with least common multiple? That's how we find out the least common denominator. So watch carefully how we do this. First off, we're going to stack these on top of each other. 1/2 minus 4/9. That's important, I believe, to stack them on top of each other. And what we're going to do is we're going to change this into 2 new equivalent fractions. And the new fractions are going to have common denominators. How do we find out what that common denominator is? Well, watch. We are going to use the 2 and the 9, and we're going to find the LCM. The LCM equals the LCD. The least common multiple that we did the last couple of days is going to tell me the least common denominator. So, remember how we did this? We counted up by 9s. 9, 18, 27, 36. And then I count up by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 is not only the least common multiple, it's the least common denominator. Everybody see that? So now what do I do at the 18? I put it right here. That is my least common denominator. Now I have to ask myself on each fraction, watch carefully. Look at the top fraction. What do I multiply 2 by to get 18? Isn't it 9, right? Isn't 2 times 9, 18? So if I multiply the bottom by 9, I have to multiply the top by 9. 9/18 is my new fraction. Now let's do the bottom fraction. We ask the same question. What do I multiply 9 by to get 18? 2. So if I multiply the bottom by 2, I multiply the top by 2. So 4 times 2 is 8. And once I have my two new fractions with common denominators, then I can go ahead and do the subtraction. What is 9 minus 8? 1. So my final answer is 1/18. Okay? Let's do another one. How about 5/8 plus 5/12? Okay, I'm going to let you see if you can find the common denominator. I'll pause the video. Okay, let's see how you did on this problem. We need to find the least common multiple, which is the least common denominator, first. Count it by 12s, 12, 24. Count it by 8s, 8, 16. It's going to be 24. So I need to change both of these so they have a 24 in the denominator. So I ask, what do I multiply 8 by? Isn't it 3? So I multiply the top number by 3 and get 15. What do I multiply 12 by? It's 2. So I multiply that 5 by 2 and get 10. Then I add the numerators. 15 plus 10 is 25 over 24. That's an improper fraction. So I need to do the division. Or can't we just see that I'm 1 over? Aren't I 1 over? That's what one of you did a minute ago. So this is 1 and 1/24. Okay, we don't technically have to set up a division problem if we can see how many over the whole we are. Okay? You can see that 25 is 1 more than 24, so I have a whole plus 1 more. The only other thing I want to mention to you is you might see a problem that says evaluate if x equals 3/5 and y equals 2/7. This is the same exact thing we've been doing, but it's just written differently. Let's say that they gave me a problem like this. X plus 3/4. Well, don't I know what x is? What is x? X is 3/5. So my real problem is 3/5 plus 3/4. So now it's just a regular fraction problem like what we've been doing. Okay? What's the first step? Find the least common multiple. So count it by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20. It's going to be 20. 4, 8, 12, 16. It's going to be 20. So I change both of these fractions so they have a 20 in the denominator. I need to do my multiplying. 5 times what makes 20? 4. So this will be times 4, and I get 12. The bottom one will be times 5, because 4 times 5 is 20. So this will be 15. Now I can add. 12 plus 15 is 27/20. That's an improper fraction. How much am I over? 7. So isn't this 1 and 7/20. Now let me ask you a question. Is every fraction improper when you get an answer? If I would have added these two fractions and I would have got something like 19/20, do I need to do anything else, or is my answer good? If you get something like this, you're done. Smiley face, problem's over. But if you get something like this where it's improper, then you have to write it as a mixed number. And we're going to stop there for today.